Hey, everybody, want to write a book with me in the month of April? The Rough Draft Challenge is coming up, and I am so excited to write this story. I'm feeling the energy of a fresh start, and I hope you are too. So, if you want to work on a rough draft or set your own project goal for the month of April, we've got a fun challenge coming up. So, let's get started. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Heart Breathings. My name is Sarra Cannon. I am the indie author of 30 novels, including the Shadow Demon Saga and my most recent book, The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. And we're going to write together in the month of April. If you have not heard of the Rough Draft Challenge, it's basically just a challenge to focus on your writing for an entire month, to make it the priority to sit down and get in community with some of your fellow writers and say, I am going to work on my book or my edits or really anything you want. It's all about community. It's all about coming together to get excited for a fresh start, to find motivation and accountability. And it's going to be super fun. So the first Rough Draft Challenge ever happened in November. And I think for many of you, it was a great success. So instead of setting 50,000 word goal, which is what we used to do when we were doing NaNoWriMo, and if you're doing NaNoWriMo like Camp Nano, you are welcome here as well to join in the community stuff. It's just really set your own challenge, make your own rules. But instead of 50K, which for a lot of people was, leading you to the edge of burnout or creating more stress than was necessary for you, we have a challenge where you can set your own goal. And we're going to be running this throughout the year. And you can actually use this any time of year. And I'll tell you kind of how to do that as we progress through this video. But in the month of April, we are running another Rough Draft Challenge. Now, November did not go perfectly well for me because I ended up with pneumonia halfway through and I didn't finish my daily vlogs. I didn't even write, I think, 10,000 full words that month. And you know what? That's okay because I released a brand new book in October. So it was okay to kind of take a break. And I am really just now getting to a place where I'm feeling excited to be writing again. And honestly, when I focus on the thing that is lighting me up from the inside, the thing I'm excited about, and I can get to a place where I'm just feeling really and truly passionate and all in on a writing project, then I know that it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm feeling that way about my next book, A Mirror of Shadows. So we're going to talk today about goals, how to join the Rough Draft Challenge, and where to get your free workbook and all of that stuff. But if you are not subscribed here, go ahead and subscribe. We just hit 78,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. It still feels like such a dream come true. And so if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, come join our community. We also have a Facebook group called the Heart Breathings Writing Community that has almost 9,000 writers in it. And we write and sprint together daily here on YouTube. So there's a calendar you can follow. I will link all that information for you down below. And for the Rough Draft Challenge, there are multiple tiers that you can join. So the Emerald tier is 10,000 words, Sapphire is 25,000 words, Ruby is if you're headed for 50K words, and then there's a new Citrine tier for 75,000 words, and then Amethyst is 100,000 words and up. Then if you are either not working on words, don't want to set a specific word count goal, you want to use it for crocheting or decluttering your house or working on a number of Etsy products that you want to put up, you can run your own diamond tier, which means setting your own goal. So that could be 5,000 words. It could be 6 chapters edited. It could be spending 5 hours on your work a week. It's really whatever you want to set that goal. And my goal with the Rough Draft Challenge is for us to all come together as a community and really set goals that feel a little bit like a stretch, that feel like, okay, this needs to be my focus. And it really just focuses our attention in on our creative projects and gives us permission to kind of set aside some of the other worries and distractions and other things like that so that we can focus, but also to come together as a community and encourage each other. And it's going to be great. So I personally am going to be working on my book, A Mirror of Shadows. This is the first book in a new series that is a spinoff of my main series that I've been writing since 2010, which is called the Shadow Demon Saga. So most of the books that you see back here are part of the Shadow Demon Saga. It starts with book 1, Beautiful Demons. And I have been Beautiful Demons came out in 2010. So I have been writing this series for 15 years. And there is one final book, book 12, yet to come. But I have been feeling for several years now that book 11 came out in 2021. So yes, it has been now 3.5 years since that book came out. which is hard for me to say because I don't ever want that much time to go between books. But, sometimes we have to follow whatever is speaking to us at the time. And sometimes there's mental blocks and things don't come perfectly. So I'm going to be done apologizing for that. And instead, I'm looking to the future for the things I'm excited about. But I've had in my head since 2022 this little bit of an intuitive whisper that has said there is something else that you need to discover in a spinoff series before you can write book 12. And I kind of ignored it for fear that it would take too long to work on, that I was juggling too many projects. But now is the time, and I know now what it is that I needed to discover and what needs to come out in this spinoff series. So this particular series of mine is 11 books, but there is a side novel, another like side story called After Midnight, a book that happens in between that's told from my hero's point of view. And then there's also a spinoff series called Sacrifice Me that I told in installments and kind of serialized. It was about 16 to 20,000 words each episode. And it came out like one episode every 2 weeks. And that was really fun for me. I enjoy the process of serialization. And so I'm doing it again. So A Mirror of Shadows will be a serialized story that will be total about 200 to 250,000 words, but I'm breaking it into 5 different novels that are short, about 45 to 50,000 words a piece. And then I'm going to read it chapter by chapter on YouTube, not here on Heart Breathings, but over on my @Sarra Cannon YouTube channel. So if you want to come subscribe over there and listen to the story, it will be free for everybody. And I've also started a subscription over there called the Broken Chapter Society. And members of the Broken Chapter Society will get bonus live streams, bonus character art, and special like behind the scenes stuff of the story. And then once the first first 40 to 50,000 words is finished, I will publish it as an ebook and potentially an audiobook kind of everywhere around the internet on the retailers. So I'm excited. This is a bit experimental for me. It's something I'm doing things in a way I've never done it before. I'm like combining things that were successful and fun for me in the past, and I'm trying something new. And I'm so excited because I had really wanted to get this, like if I had been able to finish it in November and hadn't dealt with some sickness, it would have been started already. But I can't change the past and I can't go back and make myself healthy in the past or whatever. But I think I was really teetering on the edge of burnout and illness and other things like that, just kind of continuing to follow the obligations that I had in my life. And I'm really somebody who, the more I can follow my intuition and my joy and the spark rather than obligation, like the pleasure more than the obligation, the more things fall into place in a good way. And I am kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm taking a little bit of a break from running courses over the summer, and I'm going to focus on being a full-time writer again. And I'm giddy about it. I'm so excited to go back into this writerly playground. So my goals for the month of April are really to get back into a daily writing routine, to refill my own well. So I want to be reading more. I want to be working on my backlist and lifting up my sales. So many of you were around when I did a video, maybe even 2 years ago now, about Project Phoenix. And I have been so busy with courses and heart breathings, kind of admin type things, that I have not even been able to follow through on my backlist Project Phoenix. And this is the year I am taking a break from some other things to sort of clear my plate a little bit so I can focus on my writing again and really and truly go back to being a full-time writer. And I'm going to document that as much as I can here on YouTube. There will be, for those of you asking, there will be vlogs in the month of April where I'm going to share my rough draft challenge with you, but they won't be daily. I'm not sure how often they'll be, but it'll be when I feel good about recording my progress. And I will keep up to date with you on Instagram as well. If you want to follow me over there @Heart Breathings to show you my daily word count total and how I'm filling out my planner and stuff. It's going to be super fun. That does mean some shifts in priorities. So right now, starting tomorrow, the HB90 bootcamp starts for planning Q2. And this is the last time I'm going to run the HB90 bootcamp for a few quarters. So I don't think I'm definitely not running it in June. I don't think I'm going to run it in September. So December might be the next time I open this course. It might come in September, but we'll just kind of see how my writing is going. But I'm taking a little bit of a break. Now, I will still do the HB90 planners. I will still send emails to my alumni and support my alumni in the group. But this is the last live round, last chance to enroll in the course for several months. So if you want to get in, now's now's the time to join. We start tomorrow. We have a great small group in for this next round. And I am so ready to plan for myself because I think I have been kind of perpetually ignoring my own plan in the last probably year, where I have been overloading my plate and I knew that I was doing it, but I just wanted so badly to try to get everything done and still maintain my writing. And I just have come to a breaking point where I'm like, okay, I'm holding myself back from the joy of writing because I'm doing too many other things. And so there's just some stuff and some obligations that are going to come off my plate, and I'm ready for it. So if you want to come join the HB90 Bootcamp, now is your chance until maybe late in the year. But alumni, I will also see you at the kickoff call tomorrow. Of course, you can run through that class as many times as you want. So yeah, I'm excited for the writing. Today, I'm going to pull out my Rough Draft Challenge workbook. That is something that you can grab for free. It's like a 97-page workbook that is my free gift to you if you want to join us in the Rough Draft Challenge. I know many of you have been asking about the website as well. So my husband, George, created a website for us last October, November, where we could go in and put in our word counts. And he has been working on it so that it will be something we can use year round. And so you can have multiple projects instead of just one, but it's not quite finished yet. So probably will be opening up for you to join the week before the challenge. So that last week of March, I will let you guys know that you can come in and start your project on the Rough Draft Challenge website. I know it's last minute, but we're kind of bootstrapping it over here. So please be patient with that. But what you can do is you can come join us in the Heart Breathings Writing community, where we run sprints and we hang out and we are in community together. So that's a Facebook group of almost 9,000 people. And there's the sprints happen here on YouTube on various channels. And if you want that calendar, there's a Google Calendar. So I will link all that details and everything for you in the description down below. And if you want the free workbook for the Rough Draft Challenge, which includes the full 30-day planner, as well as some plotting materials and help setting your goals for the quarter and everything, and help setting your goals for the month and everything like that, then you can download that for free just by signing up for my newsletter list. So all those links will be available for you down below. And if you're already on my newsletter, I will send you a link today in your email that is a reminder of where to grab that workbook. So let's talk goals. I'm going to work through my actual goals. I have a feeling I'm going to be at 25K, but I want to actually show you how I set my goal for the quarter. What would be really great would be to finish A Mirror of Shadows. I'm already several episodes in, but I want to finish that so I can start reading it in May. I would love to get started on book 2 also, but that's going to be kind of a stretch. And if I am doing better than I think, I can change my goal to increase it halfway through the month if I want, because we don't have to follow rules over here. We're just going to do it like we want. But either way, I'm super psyched and excited for this opportunity to run the Rough Draft Challenge with you all again. And I hope that you will join us too. So let's go take a look at my planner and my goals. Okay, let's look at the Rough Draft Challenge notebook. So I've got multiple planners that I'm using for my writing, and I'm going to have a video coming up next week where I'm going to share a little bit more about it. But this one is my Happy Planner size. This is the MIDI size, I think. I can't remember now if it's MIDI or Demi, but you can look it up on Notique's website. This is absolutely beautiful. This is her fuchsia colored one, and I need to secure these in because every time I open it, they fall out. So I'm going to probably just put a little tape on the back of that. But I have this all set up. I am going to be using this particular notebook for the Rough Draft Challenge. All I did was print it at 82% scale, and then I just did all the odd pages first and then all the even pages next. And that got me to the Rough Draft Challenge. So let me see which section it's in because I have multiple things in here. I think it's back here. Okay, so I've got other goodies in the front. I will share that with you, but here is the Rough Draft Challenge April 2025 notebook or workbook. And it is actually a planner that will take you all the way through the end of April. This is dated, and there's a Sunday, Monday mix version. I'll explain what that is. And then there's a Monday start version, which is just all Monday starts on the weekly and the monthly. There is an undated version of this coming for those of you that want to be able to print this out and use it for any month in the future. And there will be some alternate versions of this coming up as well for those of you writing serials. So be on the lookout for that. But for now, this is the one that's in the resource library for you. And here in the beginning of it, there's a little quote, and then there's also an explanation of the 3 or of the different goals. So the way that we're doing our goals for the Rough Draft Challenge is through gemstones, which is perfect for my Shadow Demon Saga. For those of you that have read it, it's basically magic based on gemstones. So the Emerald tier is if you are heading for 10,000 words as your goal. Sapphire is 25,000. Ruby is 50K. We are adding a citrine tier for those of you heading for 75K. And then Amethyst is 100,000 or more for the month. Then if you don't really fit into any of these goals and you want to set your own goal, like you want to use this for editing or for writing a blog or for crocheting or for finishing a needlepoint or, like whatever it may be, for even for I'm going to declutter this many places of my house, or I'm going to lose this many pounds. Like you could literally use this challenge for whatever. I'm going to create five new products for my Etsy shop. And that way it's all inclusive, even for those of you that are not currently writing or are not writers at all. Come join us in the Rough Draft Challenge, and you can call it the creative challenge if you want. So all of that is explained here. I at first was aiming for 25K in November because that feels like a pretty good month. That's a little bit of a stretch. Now in previous years with NaNoWriMo, you have to go for 50K, and I have hit that many times before, but it always feels like such a stretch. And I often feel like the words aren't that great for me. Like, doesn't mean you can't write 50K that are really good. But for me, I always felt like a lot of it wasn't well thought out. It was just, I got to get words on the page. And sometimes that is better than overthinking, but I just was going for the 25K. I think for April Rough Draft Challenge, I'm going to be going for the 25K again. I'm pretty sure that's going to be my goal, but we're going to work this out. So again, I will have a full walkthrough of how to use this, how to check things off as you're prepping here in March for the April Rough Draft Challenge. There's a to-do list, a shopping list, any decisions you want to make. But where I'm going to focus next is in this sort of sprint calculator and math section, because this is how I tend to set my goals. So we're looking at the month of April. Like I said, there's a Sunday, Monday mixed version, and then there's a Monday version. So in the Monday version, this monthly calendar starts on a Monday. In the mixed version, the monthly calendar starts on Sunday, but the weeks are on Mondays, which is how typical American calendars are. I don't have a full Sunday week start available. So here you've got some steps that you can do. So the first thing is to mark off any days this month that you're not going to write. So I'm going to pull out some washi tape because we can't just have a naked planner. It's got to have a little bit of bling to it. So I've got just this old Hyatt key card for a room. I don't even know what that's from, but got a little bit of stuff here. Have you guys seen these Papermate flares that are dual tips? They're brush tips on one side, and then they're just the regular Papermate flare on the other. I just saw these at Staples the other day, and I had to get them, so I have no regrets. But anyway, I'm going to I think I'll use the pink to kind of mark this out, and I might I just have these dot markers from Amazon. I might use these to kind of figure out my month. So I know that from the 7th to the 10th, I have an event that I'm going to be going to. I'm going to be hanging out with my friend Ines and some other writer friends during this couple of days, and I will probably not get any writing done. So I'm just going to put San Antonio here, so I remember kind of what that event is. But for the rest of the month of April, like I had mentioned before, I'm kind of clearing the decks a little bit. I'm not going to be prepping for any courses. I'm not going to be, I'm just going to be focusing on my writing and Project Phoenix, which I'll explain a little bit more in my next video. So this is really the only big thing, other than I think there's a day somewhere this first week of April that my daughter has a field trip. So I'm not sure which day it is, but I'm just going to mark off this day just in case, because I know it's one day that week, but I'm not sure which one. And I don't think I have anything else that's just I have work to do, but I don't have any days that are oh, I cannot work on that day at all. And so then that's the first thing you do. Mark off any days that you can't write. Then choose whether or not you want to add in any buffer days. So right now I have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So if we have 30 days in the month, now I'm down to 25 writing days. Do I want to add in any buffer? Well, frankly, considering the fact that we've all been sick and, you never know how it's going to continue on. And I am going to be around people both in New Orleans and for this. I got to assume I'm going to have at least 3 days that I'm not going to be feeling great. So we're going to take those 5 days and we're going to add 3 days buffer to it. So now we have 8 days that I'm not going to be using. So we're going to tally that up and subtract it from 30 to get your total writing days. So basically what that looks like, I'm just going to use this down here. We say 30 days minus 8 non-writing days brings me to 22 total writing days. Now I need to think, so I usually have my little calculator here. I need to think. Now, the way we always used to do this is you would say, okay, I'm going to take 50,000 words because that was kind of like the predetermined goal. And I'm going to divide that by 22. And that would mean that I need to get 2,300-ish words every single day. And for me, that might be a stretch. 2,300 words when I'm going from really having edited a book for an entire year and I haven't been in flow and there's still decisions I need to make about this story. That feels like a stretch to me. So I don't think 50K is doable for me. And so I encourage you to do a similar simple type of math for yourself right there. Is you just take your month and you say, how many days can I or do I want to write during this month? So if you don't want to write on Wednesdays because it's a busy work day for you, then mark them all off and then count 30 minus how many days you marked off minus any buffer days you might want to take for illness or low energy. And then you just take that number and you think about how many words do you think you will write on average? And again, this can be something that feels like a little bit of a stretch, but also doesn't feel like so much of a stretch that it's going to burn you out. So for me, I feel like pretty much like 1,200 words for me is pretty doable. So my typical writing sprint time is 650 words per sprint. And so if I'm going to spend a full hour, that's 2 writing sprints, 2 25-minute segments writing. That's 1,300 words a day times 22 days gives me 28,600 words. So again, I end up pretty squarely in this sapphire goal. I'm just going to, I just literally threw my dot markers or my dot stickers to the side. So we're going to ignore those. So I'm pretty squarely in this 25,000 words goal. Now, even though it's 28.6, I'm not going to set a diamond goal for 28.6, but you could if you wanted. I'm just going to say my goal is 25,000 sapphire. So that's my personal goal. And when I take it and I say 25,000 words, come back. 25,000 words divided by 22 writing days, that gives me a goal of 1136 per day. So when I come back over here, I'm just going to write this up at the top and I'm going to say goal is 1,100 and we'll say 37 per day. I think I can do that in an hour, but I probably will try to write 2 hours a day because I need some thinking time, some decision time, some like working through and editing things as I go kind of time. So that's kind of the goal as it stands right now. So next we have the sprint calculator. And like I said, there's a lot of little tools here for math where you can basically figure out what your goal is divided by your total writing days, and it gives you a daily word count target. And then you can figure out how many writing sprints, if you write in sprints, you would need in order to hit your goal. So I'm just going to fill this out because it will help me kind of get to that writing target. I'm just going to use this cool black one. So my preferred sprint length really is 25 minutes. And then my average words per sprint is about 650. Now, if you don't know this number, if you're on my newsletter list, inside the free writing resources library, there is a word sprint challenge. It's a 5-day challenge that helps you figure out what your ideal sprint time is, what time of day you write the most words, and how many words on average you write per sprint. If you want to go through that 5-day challenge, that's there for you. If you don't want to do a 5-day challenge, all you have to do to figure out your average words per sprint is set a timer, write, take note of how many words you wrote, do that 3 or 4 times, and then get the average, and you'll figure out what your average sprint is. Pretty easy. Sprints needed per day. So if my daily writing target is 1137, and then my average sprint time is this, I know that I need 2 sprints. Like we just did that. That's not perfect math, but we just did that on the calculator. So if I do 2 sprints at 650, I'll get 1,300 words, which will be a little over my word count for the day. So I don't have to do my average. I can do a little below average, and I like that because it gives me a little bit of buffer. This is an example, and then here's your calculator. So my challenge word count goal, we kind of already have done this, but it's 25,000 words. Total writing days is 22. So that gives me, again, it gives you that math, 25,000 words divided by 22 days. And yours could be 20 days. You could only have 15 days. Just use whatever the calendar told you. So we're going to say 1,137 word count target. So then you take that word count target and you move it down to this one, 1137 divided by your average word per sprint, which for me is 650, tells me that I need 1.74. So I'm going to round that up to 2 sprints a day. Then number of sprints per day times the preferred sprint length plus breaks. So I do 25 minutes plus a 5-minute break. So that's 30 minutes times 2 gives me my desired writing time per day, which is 60 minutes or 1 hour. One of the reasons that I want you to go through this process, or it becomes a tool that you can use, is because if you go through the math and you start to realize that you've set a goal for yourself to write 75,000, like let's just say you set a 75,000 word goal because you're like, I'm going to write an entire fantasy novel or romance novel in the month of April. And then you divide that by, let's say you only have 23 writing days. You need 3261 per day. And then you say, what's your average word count sprint? So let's say on a typical sprint, if you don't do sprints, you could say, what's your average per hour? But let's say your typical sprint is 25 minutes like mine, and you do, let's say 500 words per sprint. You're going to see that you need 6.5 sprints. So 6.5 sprints times 25 minutes, or actually 6.5 times 30 minutes means that you need 195 minutes. So we divide that by 60, and you realize by doing this math that you need to write basically for 3.5 hours every day to hit 75,000 words. If, when you're looking at that calendar and you're thinking about your goal for the month, you think, there's no way that I have 3.5 to 4 hours a day every day for 23 days to write that many words, then you know that this goal of 75,000 words, as exciting as it is probably going to burn you out, right? Or that you're probably going to fail at it, or you're not going to reach it because you're asking yourself to write too much. So you have 2 options at that point. Either one, you have to figure out a way to get your average word count sprint up to go over 500 every sprint, which means typing faster, dictating, outlining your scenes a little bit more, getting more focus, something like that. Or you have to find 4 hours a day that you can write, which might mean taking some things off your plate, delegating things to other people, getting better on your meal plans, like having pre-made meals so you're not cooking every day. It might mean getting up a little early or staying up a little bit late, but you got to find that time. And if it feels like finding that amount of time is going to burn you out, then just trust the math and say, I'm going to give myself a goal that feels good, but a little bit of a stretch. And I think that to me is the healthier way to do it. But also, set your own goal. If you feel like 100K is doable for you, then do it. But sometimes it's so helpful just to get a really true view of, if I want to write 100,000 words, or I want to write 75,000 words in a month, how do I do that? How many hours a day do I have to write? And then figure out how to make it work. So then we kind of go here and we say total word count challenge goal. This is just kind of another checks and balance. Is 25,000 divided by the average word count per sprint for me is 650. That's going to tell me how many sprints I need to do over the course of the month to win. So I'm at basically 39, and I'm going to just round that up and say I need 40 sprints. So when I'm planning out my time, and I've got a tracker here in this planner. I'm not sure where it is, but it's here. It might be at the back. Is it at the back? Yeah, so here in the back, there's a word count tracker. So you've got 25 per column. So this is 50. So I'm just going to take this one sheet and say, I need 40. So I can put like a little star by the 40. Say, I know that once I've filled this out, it gives me a visual target so that every day when I fill this in and I say, I did this sprint, I did this sprint, I did this sprint. And again, if you don't write in sprints, meaning, so a sprint is basically just you set a timer for a designated period of time, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, and then you focus only on your writing for that designated period of time. And that is a sprint. And then when it's done, you take a break and then you set a new timer and you come back. Some of you might prefer to just say, I'm going to write for 2 hours and I'm going to take my time with it. And it's not a sprint. And that's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to write. But if you use sprints, you can use this as a goal and you can say, okay, I wrote this many words. Here's my total today. Here's my monthly total so far. And then I know that once I've filled this out to 40, I should be successful for the month. And if not, then I need to adjust my average word count. But this math gives you kind of a way of looking at it. And then this entire notebook slash workbook slash planner has meal planning ideas. It has brainstorming ideas, plotting pages, all kinds of stuff for you to use here. And then once we get into this next section, this is an actual planner for you to say, okay, it's April 1st. Here's the scene I'm going to write. Here's my intention for the day. Here's how many words, like you could track your sprints, what your mood was, because you might want to flip back through at the end of the month and say, you know what, I had so many days that I was in a bad mood or I didn't feel well. And that might be why I didn't, meet my goal. What you're loving about the story, any kind of daily wrap up might be like how many words you wrote or how it felt to write or anything you might want to be thinking about writing tomorrow, total words for the day and your new monthly total. And so you have a daily page like that for every day of the month. Then you also have a weekly page you have a weekly wrap up where you can write your total word counts for the week and what's working. And then you have a weekly page that you can do your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, and then any kind of writing schedule or tracking your sprints on here. So I'll be tracking all of this with you throughout the month of April. And if you want to use this, feel free to download it. Like I said, it's got some plotting sheets in here as well as the meal planning and the planning sheets and things like that as well. But let me know in the comments what your goal is going to be. For me, it's going to be 25,000 words, and that should, combined with the words I already have, be the end of A Mirror of Shadows, which I will start reading on my YouTube channel in May. Originally, I was going to start reading it here in March, but we're pushing it back just a little bit. So finishing it in April, starting to read it in May, and then in May I'll start writing the second book in the series. So I'm pretty excited for this. I think I can do it. I'm hoping I can actually stretch beyond the 25,000, but this feels good to me, so that's the goal. Now, when you join the Rough Draft Challenge, like I said, the website will be ready the week before the challenge begins. And I know that's kind of last minute, but that's just the way it is. So that will be ready, but you can go ahead and set your goal inside the workbook and tell us your goal in the writing community if you want. But if you set the goal of 25K and you get halfway through the month or even 3/4 through the month and you're like, I'm not going to hit 25K, you can lower your goal so that you can still win the Emerald tier. Like there's no rules about you can't change your goal. But if you get halfway through and you've already hit Sapphire, you can increase it to Ruby. And sometimes taking a little bit of pressure off is helpful for some people. And for some people, adding pressure is helpful. So know thyself, make a goal that feels really good to you. But my goal is to finish A Mirror of Shadows in the month of April. And also I'm going to be working on Project Phoenix, which again, I will tell you more about in my next video. So, all right, that's my goal. Okay, that is it for the Rough Draft Challenge goals for April. Let me know in the comments what your goals are for the month of April. Again, you can set any word count goal you want, or you can set a time-based goal. You can set a non-writing goal, any creative project. You can set a reading goal that you want to read so many chapters this month. Literally anything you want, you can come in and join us, and we're going to have an amazing month together. Remember that the website will probably not open until the last week of March, so I will be sure to let you know as soon as that is open. And next week, I will be taking you inside my plotting planners, and we're going to take a look at how I'm going to be balancing Project Phoenix with my refilling of the well, which is really kind of Project 48. So I'm going to have multiple projects going on, and I'm ready for it. I'm feeling a spark of hope and a spark of creativity. And I'm excited for the HB90 boot camp tomorrow. Publish and Thrive ends tomorrow. It's our final live stream of the class. And then next week is HardyCon in New Orleans. So I will see some of you in person for that first ever live in-person event in New Orleans. So lots of fun things going on. But as soon as that final week of March hits, it's going to be all about Rough Draft Challenge for the next month and getting back to this fun and joy of being a writer and just allowing myself that creativity. And I cannot even express to you how excited I am for that. And I hope you are too. So come join us. Let's build that creative, positive energy together and create a fun space for us to just really love our projects again and love our creativity. So I'll see you guys in my next video. And I hope that I will see you in the Rough Draft Challenge this April. All right. Bye, everybody.